This program is brought to you by the City of Oceanside. The following program does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of the City of Oceanside, its elected officials, KOCT, its board of directors, or staff. This program is underwritten in part by Waste Management of North County in Oceanside. We are dedicated to serving customers and community as a safe, comprehensive service provider, a good corporate citizen, and a responsible environmental steward. Think green. Think Waste Management.
Season's greetings. I am Kelly O. Davis, and I am pleased to welcome you to the holiday edition of Oceanside Spectrum, and we have a dazzling lineup of guests for you to enjoy. First, we welcome Studio Ace joining us on our KOCT soundstage to share information about their mission and the programs they offer. New Village Arts will be on our show to talk about their show, Around the World in 80 Days, and their remaining shows they offer their season and how you can become involved. Fashionkind will be here to talk about their mission and their annual fashion show. And for this segment of On the Scene with Eileen, she visited the WRC toy store. Be sure to stay tuned to see all the goodies they are offering there. And for our final guest, we have the Oceanside Charitable Foundation, here to talk about their mission and how you can become involved. So prepare yourself for this holiday edition of Oceanside Spectrum right here on KOCT, the voice of North County. Hi, and I am pleased to welcome for our first guest with this fabulous holiday presentation of Oceanside Spectrum. We have Julia Pfister and Mitzi Summers of Studio Ace. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Oh, we're right here by the fire. We're going to have a nice little conversation.
A little cocoa.
Exactly. So, Julia, we were talking a little bit before cameras were rolling. Congratulations on your brick and mortar space, Studio Ace.
It's very exciting to be there. We're located next to the Mission Branch of the Oceanside Library.
And what do you have going on right now?
We have lots of things going on. Art classes, of course, but we have our holiday bazaar that will be December 7th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we'll have arts and crafts, and you can come and rent a table there, and all the proceeds from the table booths go to our arts education nonprofit.
So for those that might miss it, because this is going to run all through the month of December, tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it at Studio Ace.
So I just really believe that it's really all about the kids and what we can do for them and how we can get them educated, and I like to do it through the arts. And it's about giving them a way to understand their science and history and math lessons and also have fun while they're doing it.
So they use art as a way to facilitate? I mean, how does that work? You know, I'm really struggling with math. How does art fix in with that? Yeah.
So we do arts integrated curriculum. So we talk to the teachers and see which programs, which lessons they're having a hard time getting across to the kids. And then we create an art lesson that goes along with it. So they might do a fraction game along with it. So it starts to make math fun. Or let's look at a landscape. What percentage is background, foreground, and middle ground? So it's about looking at it through a different lens, so to speak. And the kids also get to get involved, and they're making something and being creative at the same time.
That is awesome. And Mitzi, you are on the advisory board there.
Yes, I am.
So advise us. Why go to Studio Ace? What is it? I mean,
well, you know, ACE stands for Arts, Community, and Education. So I've been a longtime advocate for, you know, community engagement. I love Oceanside, so I mean, what ACE is doing for the community, they have classes inside their brick and mortar, low-cost art classes. We'd love to get them to be free, but right now low cost for families, for youth, for teens, for adults, and then also they do a lot of partnerships, community festivals. the Mission Day of the Dead Festival. They work with the Girl Scouts, First Friday Art Walk, Museum of Making Music, the Firefighters Association. So they go to these festivals and they bring a free community project for families so they can get involved with art.
Yeah, because it was something about the firefighters, the open house.
Yes.
What was it that you did with that?
So what we did there is we actually did masks, Dalmatian masks and fireman masks. And so they got to learn a little bit also about the origins of the Dalmatian. But when they come to that, the firefighters have so many wonderful things going on. And then they come over and they get to create and draw with their family.
That's
so it's
awesome.
Really fun.
So you have this wonderful spot there. So how does I'm sure you take donations.
Yes, we do. We love them, in
Yes,
fact.
we do.
The bigger the better.
And 'tis the season.
But the small ones help too.
Yeah.
And art supplies, so we get a lot of donations which help keep our classes low cost.
Okay.
So we use all these donated supplies and then are able to do a lot of things for the kids.
Fantastic. Now, how does someone get involved? I mean, whether it's a participant of your program, is it all ages? What is
It
that?
is all ages, so you can come and take a class and be involved that way. You can become a volunteer and help out with the classes or come to the community festivals, or you can donate and be part of our big family.
That is awesome.
It's really about our community. We want everyone in
Absolutely.
there.
That's fantastic. Julia, Mitzi, thank you so much for coming on our holiday edition of Spectrum.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And we will be right back with more Oceanside Spectrum.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
And we're back with Christiane Kerner and Melina Sellers-Phillips talking to them about New Village Arts. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my goodness, exciting times. You have so many wonderful things
We
going
do.
on
We
down there.
do.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, what do you do, and why do you do it?
Great. New Village Arts, we're a professional theater and arts company. We're about to start our 20th anniversary season and this coming summer. So we've been around for a while. We're located right in the heart of Carlsbad Village, right across the street from the Coaster train station. So we do 6 full professional theater productions every year. And in addition to that, we have a very active education and outreach program. We do music events. We have a visual artist foundry studio space on site. So when you come to see a show at New Village Arts, you're really surrounded by all of the arts. And we really believe very strongly that theater should be accessible to everyone. So we make sure we're doing low-cost previews. We do all kinds of work in the schools. We do work with young adults with special needs and seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia, all in the effort that arts really should be accessible to everyone because it can make such a huge change in people's lives.
And what people, I think, don't also know how healing the arts are. Not just watching it, but especially in terms of participating. So I'm sure part of that about going into having schools and older people with maybe dementia and stuff, it must be healing from the inside out, not just watching it.
Right,
I'd
and do you know
imagine.
though that even watching it, what's so fantastic about when you go and see a professional theater production, there are studies that show that you start to breathe with the people in the room with you, that your heart starts to synchronize in beating. So even just going to a show and having that experience in front of, with a group of strangers enlivens your life in a beautiful way.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And speaking about shows, Melina, you were just in, was that the last show, Intimate Apparel?
Intimate Apparel.
Yes, and so tell us a little bit about being at that theater. And I know part of their mission is inclusive to diversity and all of that. Can you speak to a little bit
Yes,
about that?
it's a wonderful play written by Lynn Nottage.
That's
and
right.
just being an actress, you're able to take on, to tell a story that you may not be able to tell in your real life because it may not be your actual story, but you introduce people to characters that they may know nothing about. And it really is beautiful. That particular character took place in 1905, so I learned, and so many people learn when they come to the theater. You learn things that happened in time, in a timepiece, and so it's absolutely fabulous. I love being an actress. I've been an actress for over 30 years. I've done from Shakespeare to kids performances, and it's wonderful, and watch the people get really engaged with what's going on. And that's what's beautiful about theater.
That's awesome. So the current play running is?
It is a world premiere musical adaptation of the story Around the World in 80 Days. So this is based off the Jules Verne book, but it was adapted by a woman named Laura Eason, who writes for television and theater. And then within the script, it said there's music and dance throughout, and left it open. So I got to hire one of my favorite bands from Leucadia called the Shanty Anns. They're pirate rock and roll. Pirate rock and roll. And they wrote 14 original songs for this piece. So it's taking this kind of traditional story that's often been told in one way and telling it through a completely different lens. And you've got 14 pirate rock and roll songs in the show. It's a ton of fun, and there's dancing and singing and circus acts and a little bit of everything in the show.
Well, that's a happy holidays for
right,
you to
exactly.
go down and see the show.
And it's good for all ages. It runs through December 22nd.
Okay, okay. And so the remainder of your season, what else do we have to expect?
All right, and then after that, in the new year, we start the new year with this great piece called Murder for Two, which is a murder mystery where two people play all the roles and the piano and sing throughout the show. It's madcap and wonderful. And then the next show will feature Melina. It's called The Roommate, and it's about two women kind of finding their lives again as they're our ages.
Yeah, as they get a little older, now they're finding themselves, because you think this is the way you are, but as you get older and you meet people that's not like you, you sort of change, and it's really interesting and it's fun. It's good. It's good. I love my character, so my character has fun.
Yeah, she does. And it's a San Diego premiere by a female playwright, which we love. And then we're actually closing our season with the musical Into the Woods, which was the first musical we ever did 10 years ago. And so now coming into our 20th anniversary season, we're celebrating that history and telling Into the Woods in a new and imaginative way.
Well, Christy Ann, Melina, thank you so much for joining us on Spectrum. We're going to have all of that stuff rolling so people know where to find you, where to go, and be sure to check out Around the World in 80 Days this holiday season right here in Carlsbad. And we will be back with more Oceanside Spectrum.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Welcome back. We are here with Johanna Warren from Fashionkind. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Fashionkind, tell us a little bit of what you do and why you do it over there.
Okay, so Fashionkind is a nonprofit that I started last year. We have a boutique for women who are in recovery from addiction and substance abuse. So this gives them a place to come get dressed for an interview. We have stylists who volunteer. Sometimes they already have the job, so they just need clothes for work, but it's a place to be supported. It's a safe environment, and yeah, that's what we do.
So by the time the show airs, you're already going to have this annual event. It's a fashion show. And just tell, I think it's, even though they're not going to be able to make it this time, tell us a little bit about, because this is also the mission of Fashionkind, these kinds of things that you do. So tell us a little bit about that fashion show that you had.
Okay, so December 3rd, 13 models, all of them are women in recovery who are very loud and proud about their recovery. There's a reason for that because of the stigma and the shame that's involved, and that's a lot of what keeps them in the shadows and keeps them from getting back out there. And so we are parading them down the runway basically to say, I did this and so can you, and to encourage the ones who are still struggling.
So I have to ask, so why this? You could have chosen a lot of different things. Why did this Fashionkind, how did that start for you, and why did you start it?
It started for me, this has been a long time coming. It is a family disease. It is, I was born into it. My parents, most of my siblings have struggled with it. My sister, who was my best friend, has been lost to me for almost a decade now because of it. And so I think it's just very personal. And there's not enough, I saw her in and out of rehabs. There's not enough support for the reintegration and the relapse prevention of someone who gets sober. That's the very heavy lifting in this thing. And so they get back out there, they're not just welcomed back into society.
That's right.
And they feel often, demoralized because they're ashamed of themselves. They've made a lot of mistakes and they have very high barriers to entry. And so they repeat old habits if they don't get the help they need.
So you give them this space, and maybe if you could share like a story that what's one of the things that you've noticed since you've started this? Because you said it's only been a year, the impact that it has had. What would you say? I think you mentioned before about the volunteers or...
The volunteers get the most excited because most of them are also women in recovery. And so it helps them to stay sober when they remember where they were, and they can relate to these women who are just freshly out of treatment and trying to get their legs back, trying to get their lives back. And they say things to me like, I wish this existed when I was getting my life together. I wish I had this kind of support for other people. I'm so glad I can be there for other women who are getting, who are going through this, and they're just a little shaky. And so that's where I really get the best feedback. The clients are wonderful too, but they often come in a little scared, a little nervous, not really sure what to expect, not really sure, how it all works. And so it's really the volunteers that seem to get a little crazy.
So this is the season of giving and donating. So how can someone become involved, whether as a participant or a volunteer? How do they find you?
They can find me online, fashionkind.org. They can start a clothing drive. There's a lot of ways to get involved. You can volunteer. You can be a stylist. We get very creative with this, and we try to get photos of the women because letting them see themselves looking all dolled up has a pretty huge impact. So photographers, there's a lot of ways to get involved in this.
So you can just go onto the website. All the information is there. Fashionkind.org,
yes.
.org. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will be right back with more Oceanside Spectrum.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Son, love is like the ocean. You have to tread the waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Jessica, will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
And now we're ready for another edition of On the Scene with Eileen. Let's see where she went to this time.
Welcome to On the Scene with Aileen. Today we're here at the Women's Resource Center with my friend Stacy Ellsroth. Hi, Stacy. Can you tell me what your position is here?
Yeah, I am the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the Women's Resource Center. We were established 45 years ago by a small group of women who saw the need in the community for rape and domestic violence intervention for men, women, children, anybody that's involved in or exposed to domestic violence or sexual assault. We have wraparound services here, so anywhere from case management to free counseling, shelter, transitional housing. We have all of those services that would help somebody leave an abusive situation and come here and be safe.
This is an amazing service here in Oceanside. For over 40 years, they've been reaching out and helping folks in the community, a very, very important service. But on a brighter note, and to make the holidays a little bit happier, what is going on in this Santa room?
Yeah, so this is all donations for our Spirit of Giving event that is coming up in December. It's the second Saturday in December. This is actually our 11th year doing this. If families come to us, sometimes they don't have the means to create the holiday that they'd like to have, and so that's why we're here. Each child gets 3 gifts. The teens get a $25 gift card and 2 gifts as well from the gift room. And then as a whole, the family gets a $25 gift card for a holiday meal.
When I got here, I can't believe how many things they have. But here's a few more fun things that I would like to donate to the Santa room. The toys are in unwrapped, brand new condition. I also picked up a couple of gift certificates or gift cards as well, which I'm going to leave with you today. Can you tell me where people can drop off toys, gift cards, cash, check donations?
So they can come to our office location at 1963 Apple Street in Oceanside. They can also find wish lists on our website at www.wrcsd.org.
Stacey, what a rewarding job. Thank you so much for everything the Women's Resource Center does. This is a very, very important nonprofit group in our community, providing services for years. The idea is to get folks help and then back on track with their lives. And this again is just one simple thing that a lot of folks take for granted. So right now, we just want to wish you happy holidays from everybody at KOCT. And keep this in mind for December to stop by and drop off your unwrapped toy, checks, cash, they'll take it all, and try and make some of these families have a little bit happier holiday season. So happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.
Be sure to take a visit to the WRC Toy Store right here in Oceanside, and we will be right back.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
And welcome back. And for our final guest for this holiday edition of Oceanside Spectrum, we have the Oceanside Charitable Foundation. We have Vince Alessi and Beverly Holtz. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, hello. So Oceanside Charitable Foundation. Tell us a little bit about the history and the mission of this foundation. Yeah.
So just a little bit about the history of the Oceanside Charitable Foundation. We started about 10 years ago, and in that time we've had just over $1 million impact for the amount of money that we've raised in Oceanside. That counts about $440,000 that sits in an endowment fund that will benefit Oceanside forever. It also counts around $570,000 that we've granted out through 46 grants to nonprofit organizations here in Oceanside that help make Oceanside a better place.
So specifically to nonprofits, not giving to actual people, really just nonprofit organizations.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, all right, yes. And Beverly, can you speak a little bit about? Okay, you're giving away money. Tell us a little bit about the grant process.
Every year we have a different focus, and the members get to vote on that focus. And this year it's
community well-being.
Community well-being, thank you. And last year it was cultural for 13 to 18-year-olds.
Okay.
And so we've helped, organizations who focus on those in their grants. They have to specifically be Oceanside recipients.
Okay.
Money has to stay in Oceanside, and and the members get to vote, number one, on the subject, and then number two, once we have gotten our grants, vetted our grants, then they get to vote on who gets the funds.
Well, I think it's appropriate to also say, because people who are watching this like, oh, let me go online. Yes, please do go online, but the grant process had ended November, for this particular season of grants, November.
Right. November 27th
was the end of this,
which just means that we're no longer taking new applications for grant recipients. However, it's not too late to become a member and donate some of your treasure and have an impact in Oceanside.
Well, speak a little bit about that, because 'tis the season. This is the holiday edition of Spectrum, about the membership and about how someone can, you said a year to get the taxes and all that stuff.
A donation typically is tax deductible, and that has to be done by December 31st. What's also really interesting is that for those that do donate and become a member before December 31st, all the money is put to work. Half goes to the endowment fund. The other half, I should say, goes to grant making that's given out next May. But what's incredible is that half that's going towards grant making is currently matched.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's really
100%.
a very great time to be philanthropic in Oceanside and to be wanting to make a difference, because there's other people that are matching those grant dollars.
And can you speak, Beverly, a little bit about the guidelines, like for 2020, some of the grant guidelines?
Well, the guidelines are created as the subject is created.
Okay.
And also, it's one of those things where it's a pretty intense group of guidelines, and they have applications that they have to fill out online. They have to be a nonprofit organization, have to focus on Oceanside. They can focus on other cities as well, but that money has to be spent in Oceanside for Oceanside people that are, in need.
And you were saying earlier, and they are people that are in need here in Oceanside.
Right.
And
it's a big city, and there's a lot of needy people, and there's a lot of great organizations and nonprofits that we work with, and to share those funds. This last year, we gave 3 grants in the amount of $65,000.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So Vince, how do they get involved? How they say, you know what, sign me up, I'm going to go ahead. How do they do that?
Go online to the Oceanside Charitable Foundation.org. You can find us on Facebook as well, the Oceanside Charitable Foundation. And they could also call Estella, who is our liaison at the San Diego Foundation, who helps us have back office.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, happy holidays to you
Thank
both,
Thank you,
Oceanside Charitable Foundation. And thank you for joining us on this holiday edition of Oceanside Spectrum. We here at KOCT wish you to have a fun and safe holiday season. Thank you for joining us.
This program is brought to you by the City of Oceanside.